I knew something was horribly wrong the moment my youngest whispered, "Mama, why did Nana say we don't get to eat yet?" And pointed at the table where my sister's kids were already digging into plates piled so high they looked like they were prepared for a feast, while my own children sat silently on the couch, hands folded in their laps, waiting for permission to join. When I confronted my mother, she didn't even flinch. She just shrugged and said, "Let them eat first. Your kids can share whatever's left." That sentence hit me like a slap, and all I could think in that moment was, how do you look at two sets of grandchildren and choose to treat one like royalty and the other like they don't matter? So before I get into everything, tell me honestly, would you have reacted calmly, or would you have lost it too? Was I wrong for what I did? The story didn't start with that dinner. No, that dinner was just the moment everything boiled over. The truth is years, but I kept telling myself I was imagining it, or being oversensitive. I'm the middle child, sandwiched between my older sister, who my parents treat like she's a golden trophy, and my younger brother, who they baby because he's the only boy. And then there's me, the one who always does okay, the one who manages, the one who doesn't need help, the one they assume will always be fine, even when I was barely staying afloat. Growing up, it was always like that. My sister, Alicia, would get the newest clothes, the special privileges, the louder praise. My brother, Daniel, got away with everything because boys will be boys. And me, I got responsibility. I was the helper, the babysitter, the one expected to understand when they couldn't come to my school events because they were too tired, or because Alicia had a recital. I swallowed the hurt for years because I wanted to believe my parents loved us all the same. But becoming a parent myself changed everything. Suddenly, the little things I tolerated didn't feel little anymore. Not when they were being directed at my kids. The tension really grew after my sister had twins. Everyone acted like those babies were the second coming of royalty. My parents threw a massive baby shower, bought thousands of dollars worth of gifts, and basically turned their guest room into a nursery for whenever Alicia wanted to take a break. When I had my first child 2 years earlier, my mom had said she was too busy to help with anything. My baby shower back then had been small, thrown together by my coworkers, and the only gift my parents brought was a bag of diapers. I remember smiling and pretending not to care, but the sting was sharp. Then when my second child was born, it was the same thing. Polite congratulations, minimal involvement, no offers of help. They came by once, stayed 20 minutes, and then left because Alicia needed them. But even then, I still made excuses. I still tried to see the best. I still tried to keep the peace. The breaking point started forming earlier this year when my mother asked if we could all come over for a family dinner. We didn't see them often anymore because I hated watching my kids get ignored, but I convinced myself to go. I told myself it might be different this time. Maybe they'd notice how hard my husband and I were trying. Maybe they'd show some interest in their other grandchildren. Maybe we'd have a real family moment. God, I was wrong. When we arrived, Alicia and her twins were already there, and my parents were fussing over them like they were visiting royalty. My kids walked in holding a drawing they made for their grandparents. They were so excited. They'd been talking about giving it to them the whole car ride. But when they handed it over, my mom barely glanced at it. She didn't even say thank you. She just put it aside and said, "Go play somewhere. Nana and Papa are talking to the twins right now." My daughter looked up at me with confusion, and I felt something twist inside my chest. Still, I told myself to let it go. I didn't want to ruin dinner before it even started. Then I noticed the dining table, 6 seats, 6 plates, 6 fancy napkins. There were 10 of us total. Guess which 4 seats and plates were missing? Mine, my husband's, and my 2 kids. That was the first moment alarm bells went off. I asked my mother, "Did you want us to bring in extra chairs?" And she waved her hand dismissively. "No need, we'll eat in shifts, kids first." Except when she said kids, she only meant Alicia's kids. Mine weren't included in that word, at least not to her. I said, "Okay, so after they eat, my kids will eat." And my mom literally said, "Well, if there's enough." I stared at her. I was sure I misheard, but then she added, Alicia is still breastfeeding. She needs a proper meal. You and your kids are used to eating simple food anyway. That was when my youngest looked up at me and whispered that question that broke me. Why don't Nana and Papa want us to eat? My husband shot me a look, the look he gives me when he knows I'm about to explode, and mouthed, please breathe. So I swallowed the fire burning in my throat and tried to keep things together until I saw what my mother put on the table. She had cooked all of my kids' favorite dishes, all the foods she used to make when I was little, foods she hadn't made for me or my kids in years. She didn't cook them for us, she cooked them exclusively for Alicia's kids. That was when I stopped making excuses. Alicia didn't help. She looked at me with this smug little smile, like she enjoyed watching my kids' disappointment. She said, Mom knows what my kids like. Maybe you should learn to cook better for yours. It took everything in me not to grab the nearest serving bowl and dump it over her head. But I didn't, not yet. Instead, I asked calmly, so what exactly are my kids supposed to eat? Alicia shrugged. I don't know, you're the mother. My parents didn't say a word, not one. They let her talk to me like that in their home in front of my children. I finally snapped when my mother told my kids, sit down quietly and wait. You can have whatever your cousins don't finish. My kids aren't perfect, but they are good kids. They don't deserve to be treated like afterthoughts or scavengers waiting for scraps. My daughter's face fell, and my son looked like he wanted to cry. That was it. That was the moment the dam broke. I stood up, walked to the table, and calmly picked up every dish. Then, without breaking eye contact with my mother, I carried each dish to the sink and dumped it out. All of it, the entire dinner. Alicia screamed, what is wrong with you? My mother lunged toward me like I was committing some unspeakable sin. My father finally stood up, but not to defend me, oh no. He yelled, stop wasting food. That was for the twins, and I said exactly. It was never meant for my family. Before I tell you what happened next, what I said, what they said, and the final blow that ended everything, I want you to tell me. What would you have done in that moment? Would you have let your kids eat leftovers? Or would you have done exactly what I did? Because standing there watching my children be treated like they were unworthy, I felt something in me shift permanently. My mother was screaming, Alicia was screaming, my father was cursing under his breath. Meanwhile, my kids stood completely still, watching me with wide eyes, and for the first time that night, they didn't look afraid or confused. They looked defended, protected, like someone finally stood up for them. I turned to my parents and said, my children are not second class. My mother shouted, you're overreacting. I said, no, I've been underreacting for years. You think my kids don't notice how you treat them. You think I don't see the favoritism. You think I'm blind. Alicia started in again with some nasty comment, but I raised my hand to silence her. No, not this time. You've had enough to say your whole life. Then I told my parents everything I'd held in for years, every slight, every dismissal, every time they chose my siblings over me. Every time they made my children feel like outsiders. My father tried to defend himself. He said, we didn't think you'd mind. I said, that's the problem. You don't think of us at all. Then my mother said the sentence that ended everything. Well, maybe if you had been a better daughter, things would be different. A better daughter. Not a better person, not a better mother, a better daughter, as in, obedient, quiet, grateful for crumbs. I looked her in the eye and said, I hope someday you understand what you just lost. And then I gathered my kids, took their jackets, took the drawing they made, and we walked out. My parents didn't follow us, my sister didn't chase after us, they just let us go. In the days that followed, Alicia texted me once, calling me dramatic. My parents didn't reach out at all, not even to check on the kids. That silence was loud. That silence told me everything I needed to know. My husband said he felt relieved. My kids didn't ask to go back. They didn't ask why Nana and Papa weren't calling. I think, in their own quiet way, they understood too. 2 weeks later, my father finally called, not to apologize, but to tell me I owed them an apology for ruining family dinner. I told him that until they could treat my children with basic dignity, we were done. He said, fine, if that's how you want it. And that was the last time we spoke. The aftermath hasn't been easy. I've had moments where I wondered if I overreacted. But then I remember my kids' faces. I remember the way my mother dismissed them. I remember the tone she used when she said they could eat the leftovers. And I stopped doubting, because no child should ever be made to feel like they're less, not by strangers, and definitely not by their own grandparents. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this: blood doesn't give you the right to disrespect someone's children. And you don't get to call it family when the love only goes in one direction. My kids deserve better. And I will never again let anyone treat them like they're worth less, not even my own parents, if you were on my side like this video. If you think no child should ever wait for crumbs, subscribe for more stories like this, and tell me in the comments what you honestly think about this entire mess. I'll see you all in the next story.